These are some spooky ass urban legends from Arkansas. Let me tell you.
Arkansas.
English, how? Kansas, you put an AR in front of it, Arkansas. What? But these are legends in Arkansas that I found really freaking creepy, so we're gonna get right into it. Okay, the first legend is the Gurdon Light. I don't know if I'm saying that right. This urban legend is located near Gurdon, Clark County, which is 85 miles south of Little Rock in Pulaski County. The Gurdon Light is described to be a floating light above the railroad tracks. The mysterious sighting first started occurring in the 1930s, appearing along a stretch of railroad tracks that lie outside the town. Some believe it is the reflection of car headlights from the nearby interstate, but the area where this light is seen is more than 2 miles from the interstate. Also, to debunk that theory, people started seeing the light before the interstate was even built. It wasn't built until the 1970s. A horrific but popular story is that a railroad worker was working on the track outside of town one night when he accidentally fell into the path of a train and was killed. His head was severed from his body, and many locals say the light is the lantern his ghost uses while he tries to find his head. In December 1931, there was a murder that took place near the railroad tracks that some connect to the light. William McLean was having a disagreement with one of his employees. William was a foreman with the Missouri Pacific Railroad. The argument was pertaining to how many days his employee, Lewis McBride, was allowed to work. Because they were in the Great Depression, there were working restraints, but he wanted more hours on the job. McBride became furious, hit McLean on the head with a shovel, and beat him to death with a railroad spike maul or a spike hammer. The Gurdon Light was first sighted shortly after this murder, which has led many to believe it is the lantern light belonging to McLean. A few believe that pressure on the quartz crystal underneath the Gurdon causes them to let off electricity and produce the light. In October 1994, NBC's Unsolved Mysteries went to Gurdon to film a recreation of the murder, which made it rise in popularity.
Weird.
I think I'm more leaning towards it was the second one, because if the light started showing up after this guy got murdered, like, and he worked for the railroad, I think it could be that. I don't think it's anything. I mean, it could be something scientific, like the quartz crystal making a light, but I don't know science, and science doesn't sit right in my brain, so.
Railroads are dangerous.
I know.
They're dangerous.
Dangerous?
The next one is the Old Malco Theater. The Malco Theater opened in 1946 in downtown Hot Springs, but it is said the haunting dates back more than 50 years back before it was open to the public. Jerome Skimmeter, a German magician, was performing in the previous building in 1888. He called Clara B. Sutherland, a young lady, up to the stage. It is said that Skimmeter made Sutherland disappear in front of the audience, but he was not able to bring her back. Ruh-roh.
Brass.
Doesn't sound like a great magician. That story has carried over the Malco Theater after all these years and has caused some paranormal activities to occur. Maxwell Blade, also a magician, used the Malco as a venue for his magic shows from 1996 to 2007 and used the story of Sutherland to increase popularity with his shows. He said he and all his co-workers have experienced some type of paranormal activity in the building. While leaving the theater one night, he heard one of the retractable theater seats fold into its upright position and then saw a shadow pass in front of the theater exit sign. I freaked and I ran around not knowing if anyone was there, and then I just left. Many claim to see a glowing woman's spirit in the basement of the building, and when the building is empty, they say they hear screaming. It is also not uncommon for objects in the theater to move on their own. Okie dokie. I ran around and then I left.
Sounds like a creepy thing.
Where'd she disappear to?
Did she ever come back?
She ever come by you?
This next ghostly legend takes us to Saline County. Lawrence Creek is suspected to be haunted by a girl who was allegedly murdered by being pushed into the creek. Her name is unknown, and she was buried at Cockman Cemetery near the creek a few days later on December 24th, 1863. By the time the 1920s came, her wooden grave marker was weathered away and entirely unreadable. The first reported sighting of her ghostly figure was in 1920. Workers were drilling for oil near the creek and the graveyard. A few of the workers said they started hearing a woman scream, and one of the workers reported seeing her on Halloween. She cried out, "Why?" and then walked to the creek and disappeared. Over the years, she has been spotted several times wearing the white dress she was buried in. Once the workers were done with their job, her ghost was rarely seen again.
I find it weird that they used to use wood as a grave marker. Seems like a horrible idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even stone deteriorates over time, but a lot longer of a time than wood. Because if wood gets wet, it's soiled.
It's soiled.
Soiled it!
Soiled it! Soiled it!
Soiled it.
Soiled it! Soiled it!
The next one is the Vanishing Hitchhiker. The Vanishing Hitchhiker is one of the most famous migratory legends in Arkansas. There are multiple versions of the tale. One is that of a man driving from Batesville in Independence County to Little Rock in Pulaski County and sees a little girl by the side of the road. She is wearing a white torn dress and has a cut above her eyes. The man stops and offers her a ride. She gives him her address and explains that she has been in a type of accident. He takes her home, and when she gets there, he notices she is no longer in the car. Massively confused, he gets out of the car and knocks on the front door. An older gentleman answers the door and is not surprised to hear the story from the man, explaining that the girl is a ghost of his daughter who died in a car crash 2 months before. At midnight, she appears at the place where she died and asks the driver of a passing car to take her home. Sounds like an episode of Supernatural if anybody watches that.
I have heard many well, I've heard another one. I don't know where, but it's like the exact same story, but it's of a boy. And then like the guy gets to the house and notices that the person's not in there. And then I think it was like a taxi driver too. Still spooky nonetheless.
Yeah, there's an episode of Supernatural that's just like that.
Maybe it's based off of this. Anyway, that was our spooky dooky urban legends. I hope you enjoyed, and let us know I almost said which county you want us to do next.
That'd take a lot of time to go through all the counties in America.
Let us know which state you want us to do next, and we will see you next week.
Next week.